I'm going to tell you a truth. 97% of men who use the no contact rule are making a fatal mistake. They use silence as a weapon. They hope their absence will make her miss them. But do you know what? The real power of absolute indifference is not a tactic. It is a state of mind, a state that makes her not just want to come back to you, but want to come back to the man you have become. We grew up thinking we had to speak, to explain, to plead for presence. We fear silence because we mistake it for failure, but it's time to rethink. Silence is not the absence of words, but the complete presence of yourself. For so long, she was used to you being the bridge you desperately tried to keep intact. She was used to you always justifying, always proving your heart. She was always waiting for your excuse. But then the bridge disappears, and you become an island. Your silence is not anger. It is not a punishment tactic. It is a state of acceptance. It declares without a single word, I don't need to convince you of my worth because I have already convinced myself. And that is the moment a silent power shift happens. She expects chaos. She receives stillness. In that stillness, she senses a new version of you. A version that no longer seeks validation from the outside world. A version that has walked away from the battlefield and decided that peace is more valuable than winning. Remember this. Your silence is the language of self-respect. It is the proof that you have chosen to rise above the noise. If you choose to listen to your inner voice today instead of chasing external approval, how would your life instantly change? Tier 2, the oyster and the pearl metaphor. Do your best. Trust the process. Let's visualize the oyster and the pearl metaphor. When a sharp piece of sand, an injury, gets inside the oyster's natural reaction is not to scream or violently push the sand out. Instead, it does something extraordinary. It begins to secrete nacre. It coats the pain, it coats the irritating object, layer after layer, slowly, persistently, in the darkness and the silence. It cannot control the sand that entered, but it controls its own reaction. The result? The sharp piece of sand turns into a shimmering pearl. Men, you are that oyster. The absolute indifference you seek is not an external action. It is an internal process. It is when you accept the sand of hurt, without resistance, without blame. You don't use energy to find out what she is doing. You use that energy to secrete your own nacre, focusing on your work, your health, your knowledge, the development of your soul. This is our law of internal echo. The outside world can only return to you exactly what you are radiating from within. If you radiate lack, you receive indifference. If you radiate fullness, peace, and self-respect, that is the frequency she and the entire universe will begin to feel and respond to. Your absolute indifference is not a trick. It is proof that you have completed the construction of your inner universe, where you are the center, not her. In Eastern philosophy, there is a saying, do your best, trust the process. Doing your best is coating the pain with nacre. The outcome of the relationship is the process, the fate. When you let go of the fate, you truly do your best. Emotional breath observation exercise. Every time you feel the urge to reach out, to text, to check her profile, stop. Place your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath. And ask yourself, what void am I trying to fill with this action? Instead of external action, write down a small goal to complete that day. Use that energy to create nacre. Tier 3. The cost of absence. When the background music stops playing. When you were present, you were the background music of her life. The quiet music, always there. She didn't always consciously listen, but she felt safe and supported by it. You were the one who checked in, who noticed small changes, who cared enough to ask even when she didn't value it. Your presence, however small, filled a space she never had to name. Then the music stops. The absence you leave behind is not just loneliness that can be filled by friends or temporary pleasures. It is an emptiness of emotional security. It is not the lack of a physical body, but the lack of the certainty of a consistent man. She begins to feel it in unexpected moments. She achieves a small victory and realizes there is no familiar "I'm proud of you" message. She faces difficulty and realizes there is no familiar voice checking in on her soul, not just her circumstances. This emptiness silently whispers,
"We are committed.
You lost something rare, and you cannot easily find it again." The real pain is not tears, but the feeling of realization that she took your care for granted, believing it was permanent, a part of her life she didn't need to fight to keep. The fact that you left peacefully, without bitterness, without drama, leaves her with no drama to cling to and no one to blame. She cannot accuse you of being the villain. She is only left with the emptiness, and she is forced to confront herself. She lost a person, but more importantly, she lost the safe and consistent energy you brought.